Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today I want to share 10 extreme minimalist swaps with you or thoughts that could help you declutter a lot more things. Now I want to add a disclaimer here first. These are just things I thought about. I'm not doing all of them, I might never do all of them, and I'm not saying that that is the right thing for you. I'm not saying that you can only be a minimalist if you do these things. I'm not saying that it even makes sense. It could also be that some of those are very obvious to you. So these are just some things I thought about, and maybe they can be an inspiration, and otherwise maybe you enjoy this video even if you don't plan on doing any of these things. But let's start with the first thing, and that is making your wardrobe only one color. Like decluttering all color out of your wardrobe to make it super easy. I think the easiest color to do that would be black. Having an all black wardrobe is appropriate in every situation. Like you can go to a funeral, you can go to the office, you can go to like an event, you can be at home, you can have it casual, you can do everything with a black wardrobe, at least in our society. But with that said, of course, I don't think that you have to have a black wardrobe. I wouldn't choose to have a black wardrobe because I don't think the color looks particularly good on me. And I also don't think that we always have to do what society tells us to do. But I think limiting your wardrobe to one color would be a move that can make laundry so much easier, that can make like picking outfits, shopping for things, like it would just be a way of having a minimalist wardrobe that can make many aspects of your life easier. I have considered having a one-colored wardrobe in the past. I also considered black for a while, but then just decided that the color wouldn't be something for me. But I think the idea is still very fascinating, and it goes into the direction of having a personal uniform. And I'm gonna link you a video up here that talks about 4 different ways to start into having a minimalist wardrobe that work for different people with different wants and needs, so you can check that out if you're interested in that. The second one is actually something I'm thinking about right now, or I have been thinking about the last few months. What about decluttering your duvet or your blanket or whatever you need for sleeping if you have a sleeping bag already, and if you like want to keep that sleeping bag because you like traveling and camping? Because I don't think it's a solution for many of us to take our blanket to go camping or traveling, but the other way around would work. So having a good warm sleeping bag, and preferably you have one that you can like unzip into a good rectangle, then you can even put it into a duvet cover, and then it's like a blanket, and you can have one item that takes up a lot less space when packed up, and you can use it every single day without feeling like you miss something, because it can be just as comfortable as having a regular blanket or duvet. And that is something I think is genius, at least if you're not like a digital nomad already, but if you're staying in an apartment but still look to downsize your things. In the same way, of course, if you're living alone or with a partner that wants to try that as well, why not use your sleeping pad instead of a mattress? Or why not declutter your bed and sleep on a mattress on the floor, or sleep on the floor in general? I know that sounds extreme, but there are a lot of people who like sleeping on the floor and claim that it is very good for your back as well. So of course that might not be for everybody, but it's something to consider. And I think if I lived alone, I would try that immediately, because I think it's very fascinating to be able to get rid of such a heavy thing as a mattress and a bed. And if I felt like my sleep quality would not decrease, that would be a perfect thing to do, because I'm not willing to get rid of my sleeping pad because I like traveling and camping, and then I could use that as a bed and had like a lot less things, at least when it comes to their size and weight. Another thing that I have thought about in the past, and I know some people do, is declutter your washing machine and dryer. You can wash your clothes by hand. Of course, if you have a large family, if you wash clothes for somebody else, if you have specific needs, if you don't want to spend the time, that might not be for you, but it is absolutely possible. With something like a Scrubber wash bag, it's easily possible to wash your things by hand, not wasting too much water, in a short amount of time. That really works well, and then you can hang dry them. If you wash them by hand, you only wash a few pieces each time, so you also don't need that much space to like hang them on different, I don't know where. You can just hang them somewhere over a door in your apartment, or You can hang them on the hanger and put it back onto your clothing rack or something, and they can dry there. Of course, if you use like a closed closet, then it would get too moist in there and that wouldn't be good. But if you use like an open clothing rack or something, that's perfectly fine as long as the clothes have like enough space in between them. You can just use the hanger with the wet thing, hang it there and it dries, and you don't have to do anything to it to make it dry, to fold it, to put it on a hanger again. So that is something to consider as well, and I think my sister actually does that. But she hangs it somewhere to dry and then she hangs it in her closet. Another thing you can consider, at least if you're a woman or a person that uses makeup and jewelry and just a lot of products, you can declutter all of them. Of course, a lot of people want to keep their makeup, and I'm not saying anything against that. Again, these are just ideas that I have, and that is something I do. I do not use any makeup, I do not have any jewelry, and I'm gonna link you 2 videos up here where I talk about these things, and it's just how I feel the most comfortable. But again, these things only make sense if they make sense to you, if they feel like they would be beneficial. But if they add stress and anxiety and work and thoughts to your day-to-day life, maybe you just keep your things and be happy if that's how you're happy right now. And then the next thing is similar, and that is just decluttering all your hair care. With that, I don't actually mean products, but I mean you can either choose a haircut like mine, where you really don't have to do any maintenance except for cutting it every few weeks, but you don't have to like look how it looks, put your hair up in different hairstyles, style it every day, make sure it looks good in the mirror, have hair care routines that are really complicated. And having hair this short, you can like also get rid of bad hair days. But the other way to have a very simple hair care routine, or like declutter hair care in general, almost completely, is by having long hair, a haircut that doesn't need a lot of maintenance, that you don't need to cut, and having it very simple. You can just brush it, tie it up in a knot or in a bun, or making some other hairstyle that stays in place. And then you also don't really have to check in a mirror how it looks. You don't have to redo it all the time. You don't have to like deal with your hair all day long. But of course, that also applies for this one. It's only if you wish to get rid of all of the things. If you enjoy caring for your hair for like multiple hours a week, or if you get a lot of joy of trying out different hairstyles, then of course keep on doing that. And then the 5th thing is something I have considered and that I'm partially also doing right now, and that is only having furniture that you can carry around. Now, that's not completely true in my case. In Germany, it's even the case that you have to take your kitchen with you if you move most of the times, because apartments come without kitchens. And so you have to take out the kitchen of your apartment if it's yours and put it in the next apartment and change things because it never really fits. And so we have a lot of heavy things. We also have the dressers that are here that are pretty heavy. We have our couch. It's a lot less heavy than the last couch we had, but we have a lot of things that we can't really carry. But at least I try to not add furniture to my life that I cannot carry myself, that are like heavy to move around or move with or things like that. And especially if you move a lot, and especially if you live somewhere where you don't have a lot of friends, or if you don't want to pay for a moving company each time, or if you live by yourself and want to be able to move by yourself, it's a great idea to just have things that you can carry. And I think a small wardrobe, another YouTube channel, does that. So she only has furniture and things that she can carry herself and move by herself with her car. And I think that's a really good idea, because it makes me able to actually be responsible for my stuff more, and not being like dependent on so many other people if I want to rearrange a room or move. And I think that's just a wonderful idea. An example of this kind of furniture would be the wooden boxes I love to have in our apartment. I think right now we maybe have almost 40 of these boxes, and they are so versatile because you can move in them if you just put the stuff in and use it as a box, but you can also make different kinds of furniture pieces out of them. We use them in our kitchen, we use them in my son's room, we use them on our balcony, we use them in our living room, we use them like everywhere because they're so versatile. And again, you can take them apart, and then you just have individual boxes you can move with. You can put them in a van if you want to try out van life. It's a very versatile piece. It's easily available secondhand, at least here. It's a very sustainable option. And so I love this versatile thing because you can make so many things out of. It's not expensive. You can use it as moving boxes. So it doesn't have that heavy feeling of furniture pieces when you try to be flexible with your lifestyle. The seventh thing that I do apply in certain categories is only having one item of a kind. So for me, that applies for my backpack. My backpack that I have is the only bag I have. So I go grocery shopping with it. I go traveling with it. I went to university when I still went to university. I do everything with that one bag because I only have one bag. Another way where I apply this is with my jacket. I only have one jacket. I use it in the winter with more layers underneath, and it's waterproof, so I can use it in the summer as a rain jacket. Since it is waterproof, it's also windproof, so I can use it in like autumn and spring if it's a bit cold and windy. And so I just have that one jacket, and it does everything I need from a jacket. And that can also be applied for kitchen things, for example. So if you live as a household of several people, you can limit like the cutlery or the plates to one per person. And so every person is responsible for their plate, for their bowl, for their mug, because a mug, I think, is the best thing to drink out of, because you can have hot beverages and cold beverages. If you want to have only one thing to drink out of, a mug would be my choice. So if you have one piece per person, every person is responsible for their plate and has to clean it so that it's ready for the next meal. And like that, you just have a lot less things. It's a lot less heavy. With every person being responsible for their stuff, you can also eliminate a lot of like messes in the kitchen. And so I think having that rule, or like applying just this thought of having one per kind of item, can you can declutter a lot of things if you apply that. You can also apply it to shoes. In my climate, it's not possible to only have one pair of shoes, but I have one pair of sandals, one pair of sneakers, and one pair of winter boots. So in that way, I'm kind of applying it there. But of course, I don't mean having one green t-shirt, having one green tank top, having one green light sweatshirt, having one green heavy sweatshirt. Like, of course, you can stretch this rule if you really like try to, and then you can have 10,000 things that are only one of each kind. But I mean it in a more general sense, but I think you get it. You can also apply a rule, and that especially goes well if you are still decluttering a lot of your stuff. That is something like 1 in, 10 out. Of course, maybe you know the 1 in, 1 out rule. Like that, you could make sure that you're not accumulating more things. But if you really want to downsize, think about always having to get rid of more things in order to bring one thing in. Of course, rules like that can make your life feel a lot more strict, and it can feel like it's limiting and it doesn't make sense. In that case, of course, don't use them. But if you feel like they're helpful, they can be very interesting and something to consider. And I think it also makes sense if you think about it in a way that you want to add something that isn't super necessary, and then you really have to think about if you are able to get rid, or like, of course, try to donate, sell, or give to somebody else 10 other things in order to bring that one thing in. So is that one new thing that you like to have really worth getting rid of 10 other things? Of course, if you still have a lot of stuff, that might be the case for many items, because of things like, oh, I easily have 10 things that are not very important, and that one item I'd like to get would really help me in my everyday life. And then it makes sense, and then that rule can really work easily and make sure you can declutter a lot more things. Of course, you can also use like 1 in, 3 out, 1 in, 5 out, whatever works for you, or you say 1 in, at least 1 out. So you always try to find a bit more. But of course, if you start to like force it, if you start to like declutter because of decluttering, because of the number, I don't think that it is still very helpful. But you have to decide, it's your life, and so you have to find a solution that works for you. And then the 9th thing is really extreme, because the 9th thing is just don't own all of these big responsible things. Don't own a car, don't own an apartment, don't own all of the furniture. And that, of course, also maybe means you want to be a digital nomad. That way it's super easy to not own all of these things. But being a digital nomad, you have to keep in mind, even though you don't own a bed, you don't own a car, you don't own a place and a kitchen and things like that, you might still use one each day. So you really have to think about if that makes you that much more minimal, because depending on how you think about it, it's still the same, because you still use all of these things, even though they are technically not yours. But that is a great way, if that suits your lifestyle, if you travel a lot, you can always consider not owning these normal big things. We don't own a car, but that does only work because we live here in Europe, in a big city with a lot of public transport possibilities. So it is possible to live without a car, because I understand every single one of you that has a car, because it's just, in a lot of places around the world, it's not really possible to live without a car, because you couldn't even go grocery shopping. But I can go grocery shopping by foot, and I will link you my grocery shopping routine up here. And it's super easy because it's just like 7 minutes by foot. And so I completely understand if a lot of you cannot get rid of your car, cannot get rid of all of your furniture, cannot get rid of your apartment. Yes, of course, but maybe some of you could. And then my 10th, and a bit different, but still very, very, very important thing I want to tell you, this thought is, don't follow all of these tips. Don't follow all of the must declutters, must still keep as a minimalist things, because it only makes sense if it makes sense for your life. And I think the most minimalist lifestyle you can achieve is always the lifestyle that is personalized to you. Because minimalism and extreme minimalism is really not about getting rid of things that you still care about, getting rid of things that would be useful, so you end up with not enough things to live your life. Being a minimalist and an extreme minimalist is getting rid of all the things you actually don't need, and that is very personal. And so I think it never makes sense to follow all of these tips I just gave you if they don't make sense for your life. You might need a lot of additional things in one category, but you can get rid of all of the things in another category that I maybe consider as essential. I have a camera, I have a lens, I have a microphone, I have a computer. You maybe don't need all of these things. And so I have clothes for different climates. You really don't need to keep them if you live in an area where you only have one season. And so try to make your minimalist lifestyle, your belongings, really about yourself. I think that's the best thing you can do. And even if you're not a minimalist, even if you never want to be a minimalist, I think it always makes sense to have things that support your lifestyle. And it also always makes sense to get rid of things that do not support your lifestyle, that add stress, that add time you need to clean them, that are just meaningless. You can always let these things go if they are not supporting your lifestyle in any way. And with that said, I'm coming to the end of this video, and if you like it, please give it a thumbs up, because that would really help my channel. Also, leave everything down below you want to tell me, also other tips on how to be more minimalist, on what things you could declutter. I'm sure I missed some that I'm also doing and practicing and thinking about. And if you want to see more videos right now, I'll link you a video and a playlist here that you can check out if you want to and if you have time to do that. And I also look forward to see you next time. Bye!